Here are 5 insights that I think will be of value to you as you move forward if you're doing a transmedia approach anchored by YouTube, and or if you're just using YouTube and it's linked to Legacy After 60. Now, what I'm going to do with these 5 points is just bring them to the foreground for you so that you might look at them and go, okay, that one I can use, that one, I'm not quite sure. Hey, I think there was a video sometime back where you mentioned this. That's what these are for, just to get you thinking about what you can do with these insights learned by me, shared by me, as a way to keep you moving forward. So let's get at the first one. Now, there's a phrasing that I use that you'll see here, which is decision, action, outcome. And there are decisions that I have to make, the actions I'm going to have to take to fulfill those decisions, and the outcomes that result from it. Now, what I've found, and I'm going to read a couple of statements here for you, are these true for you? I've come across and had to do a lot of head scratching with them. So the first one is, consider how easy it is to spend a day on an action, realizing the outcomes, yet noting a WTF. Did that assignment of time, effort, and money really help? Down that rabbit hole, or, hey, that was really easy, I enjoyed that, off I went. The next one I found is, sometimes it's difficult to spend a day because these actions and the outcomes that are required, there's an immediate need for time, effort, and or money to be assigned. But yet, I don't do it. So there's this mix of, I go down this pathway and then I go, oh, what had happened? Or I know I've got to go down this pathway, but I don't go down it. It's a dilemma that I sometimes find myself in, and it comes back to the sense of seriousness, urgency, and growth. Of the actions that I'm going to take and the consequences I'm going to realize because of the decisions I've made, which ones are the serious, which require some urgency put towards them, and which are going to lend me some growth. Now, there are times when I'm just going to go play. There are other times where, today's just not the day. But that's a decision of awareness that I'm going to make. Otherwise, I'm going to sug it. Seriousness, urgency, and growth, and I'm going to get into it, and let's see what happens. The next point sort of drops out of the other one. How is the clarity, brevity, and transparency of your legacy after 60? Your stories, your contributions, your projects. How are you doing with that? Because it's a question worth asking that's linked to the decisions, actions, and outcomes. Are you being brief in what you're attempting to get across, or does it require quite an explanation and description? What is the sense of clarity that you are sharing? Is there some consistency there around that clarity? And what's the transparency? What's the truth, trust, and transparency that you're putting into play because of your legacy after 60, whatever that story, project, contribution might be? Now, I bring this up is because I'm notorious for not necessarily being brief or adding a little too much that confuses, and therefore I need to clarify a bit more. I'm certainly transparent about what I do, but it's that brevity that gets in my way, that clarity that sometimes gets in my way. What about you? I'd be curious to know. And then, how do you deal with that brevity, the clarity, that transparency? It'd be great to read what you've got, because we can learn together, and that would be really wonderful. Now, if we've not met, you jumped into this video, I'm Stephen. I'm a legacy mentor, or I prefer the term legacent. You'll be learning more about that as time goes by. And I enjoy sharing these Tuesday videos with you. One of the aspects of the stories that I encounter, and this is the third point I want to raise with you, is around improve, focus, and strengthen. You see, when from a legacy and after 60 point of view or intention point of view, I always talk about what do you want to improve, focus, and strengthen, because that gives you a boundary to look at your legacy after 60. But what becomes interesting is that, and people have asked me about that, and I had to think through it, and I came to okay, let me do it through a push and pull metaphor. And what's taking place is the following. Often what people are thinking is what I want to improve, focus, and strengthen. Sort of, I'm going to push this forward because that's what I think needs to be done to improve this or focus on that, strengthen this. And if I push it, I'm going to move it forward. Now, there's some truth to that, but there's also the flip side, which is what am I going to pull? So for my improve, focus, and strengthen of the future, what do I want to pull that is going to help me improve, focus, and strengthen that future view of what's taking place? So often when I'm talking about there's feedback, we know that term. But one of the questions that I always raise is there's feed forward and feed fromward. So this push, in a sense, is feed forward. The pull is feed fromward. Now, it's just my way of helping me understand it. Now, the question is, from a brevity, clarity, and transparency point of view, how did I do? Let me know. But the point that I'm getting at is that if you ask the question of the ifs forward or the ifs fromward, from the future, what do you come up with? What do you want to pull? What do you want to push? These are the things that you can sort of mull over as you're looking at this legacy after 60 intention that you want to put in play. The fourth point that I want to bring forward is truly a understanding of this transmedia, the story narrative across multiple channels. And as you remember, I'm using Medium and Substack to write. I'm using Pinterest to put some pins up on. I'm using YouTube to share the different kinds of videos I want to. And then on my website, on my blog, where I'm putting up my magazine and courses. And then LinkedIn, there's one where I'm sort of reminding myself of, from a professional point of view, what kind of ideas I want to get up. But when I bring that all together, I'm getting a lot better at bringing the story elements from a contributions and projects point of view, so that there is some brevity, some clarity, and some transparency across the different channels each week. Now, I'm getting better at it. I got to admit, I stubbed my toes a couple of times, scraped my knees as I went through, but that's just part of or just an aspect of this whole transmedia story approach. And so I share that with you because there is the sense of, I can share all that information, but where's the transformation? Now, I can offer you all of this information and give you some sense of the imagination of what you can do with it, but I may not be giving you enough to go through the transformation. Now, I know you have to do the transformation. I get that. But what can I do to assist that transformation? And therefore, this information to transformation through imagination was something that I had to really bring forward to get clarity on that, so that I could make it then transparent in what it is that I'm offering. How are the videos doing from this information transformation through imagination point of view? How am I doing? You got any thoughts? Or what have you learned about those three connecting words? That way, again, we can learn together. The fifth point that I want to bring forward is around the video description, or from the video description, the statement that I'm making. And it has audience and numbers in that, and it's going to pop up now, and you can see it, and it reads as, our mission at Legacy After 60 is to encourage 10,000 adult educators 60 plus, especially adult professionals, community curators, and champions of nature-inspired outdoor education, to shape and share their expertise through legacy stories and contributions to make an impact for the world and with the planet, and to support them in intergenerational conversations about conservation, to encourage them to become Legacents. Now, this is a statement that I wrote. Now, again, we could come back to that clarity, brevity, transparency point of view. I would agree with you. There's a little bit of that's going through that. But let me just share this sort of descriptive statement just so you get a bit of a sense of where I'm going. And over the number of videos that are going to follow here on the channel, I'm going to look to find the grace in finding a way to get to that brevity, clarity, and transparency of what it is that I would like to do. So, our mission, in other words, what I believe is missing to improve focus and strengthen at this channel is to encourage 10,000 adult educators. I chose a number. Now, how am I doing so far? Maybe I've worked with 50. Okay, I got a few more to go. Now, at 60 plus is where I was sort of open to that. Now I'm certainly linking it to that Legacy After 60 storyline. Now, it's especially adult professionals, community creators, and champions of nature-inspired outdoor education. The adult part with the educator is there simply because it's my background. I wouldn't say I'm a youth educator, like that K to 12 kind of storyline, or in youth groups or youth work anymore. I did some of that youth work when I was younger, but for many, many years, I did more of the adult education in workplaces, whether it was charitable or corporate. Now, the community creators, that's sort of a broad term that's now coming out in terms of how we're using TransMedia, the different media channels, to bring out ideas. And I'm linking it with adults. And then the nature-inspired outdoor education that's a true leaning for me, is that I'm very nature-inspired. I use nature as my muse metaphor, self-care companion, living systems educator, hey, inspiration for every breath. So I'm very much leaning into that, and if I can be of assistance to those who are doing that or thinking about doing it, then let's see what happens. As we move into the shape and share aspect, it's that discover, explore, find, shape, tell, share, see what happens with what it is that you've learned about what you want to share. What do you want to improve, focus, and strengthen? And it goes back to the earlier point that I mentioned. Now, what you're doing is you're, in a sense, you've got this experience, but there's expertise in there. You have lots of wide experience, but it's that which you would really want to shape and share is what you want to put in action. Let's call it Legacy After 60. And it's through legacy stories and contributions, and it can go all the way into bigger projects where there's a lot more persons involved with it. And that's okay, because really what you're wanting to do is figure out how to make an impact for the world and with the planet. For the world is with your kin, humanity, with other persons, but it's also with the planet, which is your wild kin, the flora and fauna. Now, statement about being for the world with the planet, they're sort of together, but yet sometimes we separate them. What can we do to find a way in which to bring them together? Which is what influenced me in thinking about, I really would like to support intergenerational conversations about conservation. Now, the conservation is in the widest sense, the reducing of waste, impacting that which is of why are we doing this and let's not do this. whether it's with the planet, it's for the world, it's our individual relationships, our use of money, whatever it might be. Where is it that we could find that conservation and the conversation that's necessary, that intergenerational conversation that's necessary? Because one of the things that I'm certainly leaning into is of what I am doing, I'm pushing or pulling, I'm thinking about it through that intergenerational lens. How is it going to impact those who've not arrived yet? Now, that could be from other persons who are coming from other places or those future generations. There's a sense of hospitality that's always present in my decisions to get my actions, my outcomes. So I'm seeing where that's taking me. Now, the conversations are collaborative conversations where you can be both assertive and cooperative, collaborative, in other words, in what it is that you want to have a conversation about. The dialogue you want to have, the multi-log if you want to get even a little bit further along. So these are important elements, but I also would really enjoy supporting those who are legacy after 60 living it. Why not call yourself a Legacent? I've actually created a magazine that I'll put a reference to the inaugural issue. I just wrote my first magazine, but the next issue is coming out. And there'll be a reference to that down below, and you can go and you can read them. They're both going to be free. In a month or so from now, I'm probably going to charge for them in the sense of like helping to establish community, a membership. So I'm going to work on that one a little bit more. Again, this TransMedia approach and how might I fund it. It's a great story. I'll talk about that one a little bit on another day. So if all of this is possible for you, now what? Yes, now what? But it's premised by, so what? What else? Now what? So what does what I've shared in this video and other Tuesday videos about this TransMedia approach anchored by YouTube, what's it doing for you? So what does this mean for you? And what else do you need? Because that what else, you could put comments down below saying, hey, can you give me some insights about this? Or can we talk about this? Or whatever it might be. What else do we want to learn? Because now what happens is you could share your outcomes with us so that we can learn from you and learn together. That'd be wonderful. So comments are always appreciated down below. And what's popping up for you now are other videos that you can follow along with, and the playlist for these Tuesday videos is here as well. But again, always and in all ways, take care.